Hi there, my name is Brittany Wussick, and I'm an environmental educator on behalf of the GTM Research Reserve. So, the GTM stands for the Guantanamo and Matanzas Rivers. A National Estuarine Research Reserve basically means that we conduct research along the estuary. My job is to spread the word to the public how important our reserve is through outreach events and different educational programs. Now, an estuary is where the rivers meet with the ocean. So our rivers are the Guantanamo and Matanzas, and that is where they meet with the Atlantic Ocean, here in Northeast Florida. Now, we're located in South Ponte Vedra Beach, and our coastal conservation territory extends all the way up to Marineland, which is in Palm Coast, which actually ends up being 76,760 coastal acres of conserved and protected territory. So basically, GTM's mission is to protect natural resources through research. I'm going to take you on a whole tour of the GTM Research Reserve. Inside of this building here, we have a whole visitor center that's filled with all the different habitats of our reserve. And then I'm actually going to take you to the GTM Dam and show you the estuary, as well as show you our beaches along the Ponte Vedra coastline. And I'll also take you to our trailhead and the wetlands over at Shell Bluff. So we have a big adventure ahead of us. I hope you're ready. First, I'm going to take you inside of here and show you our visitor center. Our research reserve has a visitor center that is open to the public and free of admission. Our center has lifelike displays that define the estuary, uplands, and ocean habitats that outline the importance for people and wildlife of Florida. Our weekly programs highlight plants and animals that live within the reserve, as well as the tools and technology that our scientists use to study them. The Education Department of the GTM Research Reserve uses the Visitor Center to instill environmental education through our field trips and summer camps. This is our diorama of the estuary. A diorama basically means that it's an example, so we can use this to teach our students. But don't worry, because I'll be taking you to the actual estuary here soon. We also have several different fish tanks to display the different types of water within the habitats. And back this way, there's a whole historic section as well. We cover the historic portion in different programs, but today we're going to focus on the estuary and the different habitats within the GTM Research Reserve. Now I'm going to show you the reptile exhibit. Now that you've had a tour of the GTM Research Reserve's Visitor Center, we're heading to the Uplands habitat. Welcome to the GTM Trailhead. So this is where the beginning of all the trails start. You can get a trail map here, and it leads to 6 different trails that you can choose from. Today, we are going to go on this one, the yellow trail, where this white arrow is pointing at. This trail leads to the Talamato River. There are many different habitats and ecosystems within the trails. For instance, along the way, we see a dry prairie. Now we'll keep heading down the yellow trail until we get to Shell Bluff. If you are walking, it's just a little over a mile. Welcome to Shell Bluff. Over in the distance, you can see a whole coastal wetlands habitat. As we pan around this way, this is the Talamato River, which is the T of GTM. Because the Guana River meets with the Talamato, that further down meets the Matanzas. Let's head over to the GTM beach accesses. Our reserve has 4 different beach accesses, and it is home to so many different habitats all within one place. There's a habitat within the dunes, along the sea line here, which is called the rack line, as well as within the ocean. Our beach accesses are open to the public, but we also use them for programs too. Now I'm going to take you to the best place around, the estuary. I'm here at the GTM Dam, and basically this is along the estuary. So there are several different species that like to live in the estuary, and one of our friends here, she is an ambassador from the GTM Research Reserve. Her name is Princess Diana, and she is a diamondback terrapin. Now she gets this name because of the print that she has here on her carapace. Now a carapace is a different name for her shell, basically, her top shell. And then all the different little segments here kind of have a diamond appearance. And another fun word is scutes, which are the individual parts of her carapace here. Now, we can talk about adaptations. So what an adaptation is basically what something does to fit into its environment. So basically, when it's cold outside, what do? You put on a sweater, right? So basically, that is you adapting to your environment. Now, terrapin turtles have adapted to their environment in different ways too. An easy way is to compare her to a tortoise. So tortoises are land turtles, and they have different features than diamondback terrapins. The word terrapin is basically water or aquatic turtle. So if you look here at her front arms and back flippers here, it's more of a webbed shape. So tortoises have more of a stumpy arm where they can walk on land, where this webbed shape actually enables them to be able to swim in the water better. Let's check out how her face looks. So where is her nose located? Well, our nose is located in the middle of our face, right? Actually, their noses are kind of on their forehead, but this enables them to be able to breathe while they're swimming around in the brackish water. Now, another adaptation is her shell, or as I said, carapace. It's more of a flat and curved shape rather than a dome shape that tortoises have. And this allows her to be able to swim stealthily through the water rather than having a big bumpy shell like tortoises have. Now, here's another cool thing. So these terrapins actually have things in common with you and me and people in general. Their carapaces, or top shells, are made out of keratin. Now, Do you know that keratin is actually what our hair and our nails are made out of? Kind of cool, right? So that helps her have a nice strong shell so that it protects her from any predators that might come her way. In addition to having keratin in common with these turtles, they also have vertebrates, just like we do, which is the same thing as our spine or backbone. See here, under this preserved carapace that we use for educational purposes, it shows here that underneath their carapace there is a backbone. Now that you've met Princess Diana, one of my little diamondback terrapin buddies here at the estuary, let's talk about her home. So this is the estuary. An estuary is where freshwater meets saltwater. So we are along the Atlantic beach, and the Atlantic Ocean water is saltwater, and then Guana River and Guana Lake, when those two combine, that makes brackish water. And that is the diamondback terrapin's favorite type of water to live in. The estuary is a super important place for several different reasons. One of those being that it acts like a sponge. How? All of these different plants that's surrounding the water here at Guana Lake is called cordgrass. This cordgrass, also known as spartina, works as a sponge to soak up extra rainwater, especially when we have hurricanes coming through during hurricane season and we have storm surge. These plants are able to absorb the water and soak it up to prevent any flooding. Along the spartina is oyster beds. These are all different oysters right here, and usually they're connected, and they are called what's called a bivalve, which means there's two different parts of the shell that connects. Why are these important? So basically what they do is they work as a filter. This is a coffee filter. Now, coffee filters work to filter the water from coffee beans when your parents are making coffee, right? So what our oysters do is they're actually able to filter 50 gallons of water a day. There's different types of pollutants that can be in the water, so our oysters help it be nice, fresh, healthy water quality for the different animals that grow up and use the reserve as their home. There are hundreds of thousands of oysters within the estuary. If just one oyster can filter 50 gallons of water per day, that makes for a clean environment for the plants and animals that inhabit it. Another important thing is that the estuary is like a nursery. So how does a nursery work for baby humans? Do you have a baby brother or sister, or maybe a baby cousin? They probably have a nursery, right? And that's a place where it's calm and quiet so the baby can rest. Well, that's what the estuary does too for different baby animals that grow up here. It's calm because there's not much waves from the ocean, and there's a lot of different places for them to hide, and it's safe from predators. So those are important things about our estuary. It works as a filter, it works as a sponge, and it's also a nursery. So now that you've learned about diamondback terrapins, like our friend Princess Diana, here's a way that you can help them. So our lake and river here at Guana is used for a lot of fishing. Now, fishermen tend to use crab traps sometimes, and if in the event of these being used, a way that you can help diamondback terrapins like Princess Diana is to get a TED. It's called a turtle excluder device. Basically, the way that this works is crab traps are designed to
catch crabs. And so the crabs can crawl in and then they can't crawl out. Well, unfortunately, so can diamondback terrapins.
Although crabs are our friends too, the estuary is used for commercial seafood fishing. Diamondback terrapins are listed as a vulnerable species and are protected. A vulnerable species means that it is close to becoming endangered, and that is why it's protected.